The US dollar, often abbreviated as USD, is undeniably the dominant currency in global finance. Despite the emergence of various economic powers, technological advances, and attempts at diversifying currency reserves, the dollar remains the world's most widely used and trusted form of money. But why does the US dollar have this extraordinary influence and widespread acceptance? In this video, we'll break down the key reasons why the US dollar continues to outshine all other currencies in the global economy. First point is that the Bretton Woods Agreement and its aftermath. The dominance of the US dollar can be traced back to the post-World War II era, specifically the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. This agreement established a new international monetary system where the US dollar was pegged to gold, and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. Even after the United States formally abandoned the gold standard in 1971, the dollar retained its preeminent status, largely because of the stability and strength of the US economy. Although the gold standard no longer exists, the global financial system has continued to revolve around the US dollar. This historical foundation created a long-lasting trust in the dollar, which has remained a key reserve currency in central banks worldwide. Second point is that the size and strength of the US economy. The United States has the world's largest economy, contributing nearly 25% of global GDP. The sheer size and economic output of the country play a major role in the dominance of the dollar.
The U.S. is a hub for trade, innovation, and financial services, and its economy is considered one of the most stable and diversified. Investors, businesses, and governments trust the U.S. dollar as it represents a significant portion of global trade and economic activity. The stability of the U.S. political system and its strong rule of law further reinforces the credibility of the dollar. Countries feel secure holding U.S. dollars because of the economic, political, and military power behind it.
The third point is that the oil and commodities are priced in dollars. One of the most significant factors driving the dollar's dominance is the pricing of global commodities, especially oil, in U.S. dollars. This phenomenon, known as the petrodollar system, began in the 1970s when the U.S. reached agreements with oil-producing countries, such as Saudi Arabia, to price their oil exports in dollars. Since oil is an essential resource traded globally, it created a system where countries had to acquire U.S. dollars to purchase oil and other commodities. This practice is not limited to oil alone. Many other essential commodities like gold, wheat, and metals are also priced in dollars, which creates a continuous demand for the currency across borders. This demand ensures that the US dollar remains a critical part of international trade and finance. Fourth point is that the global trust and reserve currency status. Central banks around the world hold large reserves of US dollars, known as foreign exchange reserves. These reserves are used to stabilize national economies and are often held in US Treasury bonds, which are considered one of the safest financial assets. The U.S. Treasury market is the largest and most liquid in the world, attracting investors from every corner of the globe. Countries with growing economies or financial instability often accumulate U.S. dollars to safeguard against inflation or currency devaluation. The trust in the U.S. dollar as a safe asset is backed by the strength of the U.S. economy, its financial institutions, and the Federal Reserve. This trust has made the dollar the world's primary reserve currency, holding more than 60% of global reserves in dollars, a figure that far exceeds any other currency. The fifth point is that the role of the dollar in international transactions. The US dollar's dominance extends beyond oil and commodities. It is also the currency of choice for international trade. A large portion of international transactions, both public and private, is conducted in US dollars. This is particularly true for cross-border trade, where businesses use the dollar as a neutral and universally accepted medium of exchange. This network effect perpetuates the dominance of the dollar, as more and more international contracts and agreements are written in USD. Additionally, international companies often issue debt in dollars to access capital markets, even if they are based outside the US. This ease of access to financial markets makes the dollar even more essential in the global economy. Sixth point is that the geopolitical influence and military power. The geopolitical influence of the United States is another critical factor in the dollar's dominance. The U.S. military presence around the world, along with its political power in international institutions like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank, has solidified the dollar's role as the global standard. Countries are incentivized to keep their reserves in US dollars not only for economic reasons but also because of the political and strategic influence the US holds on the world stage. The U.S. also has the ability to implement economic sanctions, often targeting countries or companies that are perceived to be in opposition to U.S. interests. These sanctions are enforced using the dollar, further cementing its global significance. Seventh point is that the dollar's liquidity and stability. One of the unique characteristics of the U.S. dollar is its liquidity. The dollar is the most widely traded currency in the world, and there is a deep, liquid market for dollar-based assets. This means that the dollar is always available for trade and can be quickly converted into any other currency or commodity. This liquidity is coupled with the relative stability of the dollar compared to other currencies. In times of economic uncertainty or financial crisis, investors tend to flock to the U.S. dollar as a safe haven. The dollar remains the go-to choice in times of crisis, offering a sense of security and reliability that many other currencies cannot match. So, next time you make an international transaction or trade commodity goods, remember that it's the U.S. dollar driving much of the world's economic activity.